guys, and welcome to Odds on Copa Libertadores. We are back here with the South American tournament quarterfinals first leg, and of course our South American expert. He knows everything. Leo Bachanian, how are you?
Hi, Edu. How are you? All good, thank you.
We have Brazilian, Argentinian quarterfinals, only teams from these two countries. So let's analyze all the games. Don't forget, guys, press the like, subscribe to our channel, and of course, leave your comments. Leo, we know that the Brazilian Serie A is absolutely the strongest tournament in South America, followed by the Argentinian. And last season, we saw some teams from other countries, especially from Ecuador, but this season, we are in the quarterfinals and only Brazil and Argentina.
Exactly. 5 teams from the Brasileirão, from Brazil, and 3 teams from Argentina. And the surprise within those 3 teams from Argentina is that none of them are the so-called grandes, the biggest team. There's no Boca, there's no River Plate on those 3 teams who made it to the last 8. But you have Velez, the Pincharotas, Estudiantes, and Talleres de Cordoba. Whereas from the Brasileirão, you have the big names with Flamengo, with Palmeiras, and Corinthians as well.
Let's analyze Corinthians. Let's start with that. Yes. On Wednesday, 3rd of August, we have Corinthians, Flamengo. If we check the outright market for the Copa Libertadores, Flamengo is the favorite right now to lift the trophy. Odds are 3.58 because they have great quality. But if we check, for instance, Leo, the Brasileirão, Corinthians, they are now 2nd. Flamengo, they are 6th. But we show an absolutely show against Deportes Tolima, both in away and especially at home, with a 7-1 in the second leg, with Pedro scoring 4 goals. If we check the odds even for this game, the bookies give Flamengo the favorites. Do you also see Flamengo favorites even if they are playing in Corinthians ground?
Yes, I do. I give them the edge to the Mengao. They, no doubt, they arrived to this quarterfinal after their best display of the season in that second leg, of course, in particular, with that 7-1 score in the Maracanã, which actually, Edu, it felt somehow short because Flamengo exerted such a dominance. I had so many opportunities to score that 10-1 or 11-1 would not have been crazy at all. And for Tolima's supporters, if there was any more room for the footballing humiliation to become a bigger stain in their club history, well, some of the Colombian players contributed actually to that feeling by being seen buying Flamengo merchandise at the Brazilian club store the day after losing 7-1 in the Maracanã. You mentioned Pedro, yes, the star of the show, definitely, with his 4 goals. He's one of the goal scorers, actually, of this Copa Libertadores edition with 7. He took his tally this season to 17 in all competitions. Only Gabigol with 20 has scored, has netted more than him. It's a striker which we haven't heard too much before. He had a short spell in Fiorentina, but before that he spent 7 years in Fluminense, so it was always going to be hard for him to win over the club supporters, but he's definitely doing it this season. Flamengo won 2-1 away against Avaí last weekend, and Pedro scored both. I mentioned in this match not only because Pedro's goal scoring run, but also because Arturo Vidal, King Arturo, made his debut with the Mengao, and he's available to play also in Sao Paulo next week. Everton Cebolinha, another of the new signings, has also a chance of starting next Wednesday. All in all, there are good days for Flamengo's manager Edu. Dorival Silvestre, the man who took over Paulo Sousa after he was sacked. Flamengo is doing well in Copa do Brasil. They left behind Atletico Mineiro 2-0. Last night, they draw 0-0 the first leg of the last 16 against Paranaense. And in the Brasileirão, they won 5 of the last 6 matches. The only defeat actually coming against Corinthians. It was a 1-0 defeat in Sao Paulo, the 10th of July. Actually, this Flamengo of the last month is maybe a Flamengo which reminds me, Edu, a bit of that Flamengo of Jorge Jesus in 2019 when they won the Copa Libertadores. A team with the Arrascaeta as the main creative player, a team that can play together two center forwards like Pedro and Gabigol, despite them having very similar characteristics. And going into this encounter, I think that is important here, that last head-to-head that I just mentioned before, in the sense that I am not expecting a goal feast in this first leg, Edu. Actually, goals under 2.5 at 1.56, and rightly so for me this time. Not only that, for example, 1-0 is the most common result between Corinthians and Flamengo. Moreover, this season, when Corinthians is leading 1-0 at home, they have a record of winning, for example, 92% of those matches. Corinthians, Edu, in order to improve their defensive performance, have signed the Paraguayan central back, Fabián Balbuena, and who already played for Corinthians 4 years ago before moving into Premier League to West Ham. And with an eye on the other side of the pitch, they secured the signing of Yuri Alberto on loan from Internacional do Porto Alegre. Yuri Alberto is a good striker. He scored 27 goals and provided 5 assists in 70 games for Inter do Porto Alegre. So, Edo, this should be a very interesting and tight first leg, I believe. I mentioned before the goals under 2.5 at 1.56. For a more exciting return, I will look for goals under 0.5 for the first half. That comes with odds of 2.5. And on this line as well, a draw at halftime has odds of 1.99.
Indeed, the bookies don't expect many goals. A KG1, even both teams to score no, for instance, pays 1.8. Both teams to score yes, 2.1. As you mentioned also, the goals under pay very, very, very little because, again, the bookies expect an KG1 and perhaps everything will be open for the game in Maracanã. Next game,
yes,
good one again also.
Oh, yes.
Full Brazilian one, Atletico Mineiro, Palmeiras. Palmeiras second favorite to lift the trophy. Again, remember they are the current champions, and Atletico Mineiro the third, but they are not in a great run, Leo. Atletico Mineiro lately, you mentioned how they lost also against Flamengo in Copa do Brasil. And when I was checking the last game against Emelec, and I remember you saying that Hull didn't score penalties, that he missed the penalties. Why don't put some money on him scoring, because he would take it again and again. And yes, they beat Emelec with Hulk scoring a penalty. Those who follow you, Leo, they could have got a lot of money if they put the Hulk to score a penalty against Emelec. What do you expect in this Mineiro Palmeiras here? The bookies give Mineiro as favorites. Odds are 2.3. Very, very good return if we back Palmeiras with 3.7.
Yes, it's another one with the huge of parity, Edu. This one, Atletico Mineiro Palmeiras, is a rerun of last year's semifinals. If you all remember, you mentioned Halki and his penalty against Emelec. Well, he actually missed one penalty in the semifinals in the second leg at home against Palmeiras last year. You mentioned Atletico Mineiro, or we discussed that before with Flamengo, going out of the Copa do Brasil against the Mengao. And also, if you are a Galo supporter, you saw your team losing 2-1 at home with Corinthians last weekend to fall 7 points behind Palmeiras in the Brasileirao. And if you sack your manager, as was the case with Mineiro after that defeat on the weekend, if you are about to face a team which is the reigning champion of the Copa Libertadores, a team that is on the run for a third successive win, and a team that scored 8 times in the last 16 two legs, you will be forgiven to feel a little bit doomed before a quarterfinal clash. However, actually, Edu, the mood is currently quite festive for Atletico Mineiro, and the reason is one: Cuca is back. 7 months after leaving the club in a season when they won the treble. Remember, 2021, Mineiro won the Brasileirão after 50 years. They won the Copa do Brasil, and they won also the Estadual. Well, Mineiro parted ways with Antonio Mohamed, the Argentinian manager, even though he also won the Estadual and the Supercopa, the Brazilian Super Cup, and left behind the Emelec in the last 16. However, not in a very convincing way, or at least not in the way Brazilians see football. And to be honest, Edu, it never stopped amazing me that teams that are under pressure after winning campaigns. No, you will understand the pressure for those who could not lift a trophy. But we are in an era where the results obtained do not admit any oscillation. So in this context, to go after the man that not only won the treble last year, but also the Copa Libertadores with them in 2013 was a very natural and smart move made by the club board. For Cuca, the reunion comes also at the right time because in front is Palmeiras, and as I said, they knocked his team last year in the semifinal on the away rule after a 0-0 in Sao Paulo and a 1-1 in Belo Horizonte. The caveat for Cuca and Atletico Mineiro is that this Palmeiras 2022 looks better than the 2021, Edu, especially in the Copa Libertadores. They scored 33 times and conceded only 3. To put those 33 goals in 8 games even more into context, you need to think, Edu, that in the Brasileirão, they play so far 19 matches, but they managed to score 31 times. They have Ronnie and Rafael Navarro with 7 goals and Rafael Veiga with 6 goals to his name. Whereas in Mineiro, you have Hulk, yes, with counts 4 to his names, but then the next one is only Nacho Fernandez with 2. That is why although I expect parity, Edu, as I said, but this does not necessarily mean that I don't expect goals. Actually, both teams to score comes with odds of 2.06. Palmeiras to score first is at 2.5. And because of the parity and despite both teams to score tip, I will also look into this game as well as in the previous one into goals under 2.5, which comes with lower odds of 1.62. Parity.
Indeed. Yep.
Yes, Edu.
No, indeed, that even apart from the firepower that we are seeing from Palmeiras in this Copa Libertadores, the bookies don't expect goals. Under 2.5 goals, as you were mentioning, 1.62, only over 2.6. So there is good money. If we go for over, there is also really good money, Leo, if we trust Palmeiras. Yes. With all the firepower, as I'm checking right now in Oddspedia with Ronnie, Rafael Navarro, Rafael Veiga, all scoring a lot in this Copa Libertadores.
Yes, and for me, this version of Palmeiras is even better than the one last year. But Abel Ferreira, the Portuguese manager, when it comes to this encounter, especially with Brazilian teams and especially in Libertadores, he's much more conservative. As you can see, I mentioned last year's semifinals, 0-0, 1-1. So it's gonna be tight.
Then let's go to Argentina, full Argentinian tie. This one, Velez, Talleres de Cordoba. When we are analyzing the Brazilian teams, they are all in the upper part of the standings in the Brasileirão. When we are analyzing the Argentinian ones, they are all in a bad start of the Primera División. Both Velez and Talleres are also in the lower part of this competition, Leo. But of course, when we are talking about Copa Libertadores, it's another story. Velez, they were able to kick out River Plate with that 0-0 in the Monumental, winless in the last 6. Whereas for Talleres, they were able to beat Colón away and qualify for these quarterfinals. Velez really favorite also because they have the know-how, no, in the American competitions, in the international competitions.
Yes, I think they have the edge. Velez for this one. They were responsible for the most important shock of the run of the last 16 with that leaving River Plate out of the competition, and to have completed actually the job away from home in the Monumental, it speaks for itself. They had to suffer, yes, of course, to dig very deep. They went actually behind against River Plate in the Monumental with 10 minutes to go, but the VAR overturned the goal that was sending the match to a penalty shootout. However, if there is something very similar between the three Argentinian teams that are still alive in this Libertadores, is the fact that they are all having a bad season domestically. Velez entered the knockout stages through the window, managed to eliminate River, as we said, but at the same time, they are winless in 7 games and currently 24th in the Argentinian league. And Talleres, meanwhile, lost 5 games and only managed 2 wins in 10 games. And they are 23rd in the Argentinian Primera División with 9 points only. For Talleres, this is an unexplored territory, first time ever for them in the quarterfinals of the Copa Libertadores. To defeat Colón 2-0 away in the second leg came as a shock as well, to be honest, or especially the way they done it. There was no doubt about the superiority of Talleres against Colón. This Talleres managed by the Portuguese Pedro Caixinha. Talleres showed that they were an ambitious team, a team with a plan, that they knew how to reach this last 8. They did not leave spaces. They interrupted the circuits of Colón and tried to play it in the attacking half as much as they possibly could. They had in Girotti, classic number 9. Girotti is on loan from River Plate, who knows how to move in that final third. And they have in Enzo Diaz, one of the best left backs of the competition. Only Lucas Orellano, the Velez playmaker, actually completed more dribbles than in this Libertadores than Enzo Diaz. We will see if Caixinha sent his team with the same ambition this time around, taking into account that Velez took the game on River Plate's half on that first leg. And I expect them to do the same this time. I expect the Velez on the front foot in this first leg. If I spoke of parity regarding Atletico Mineiro and Palmeiras, the feeling is much of the same with Velez and Talleres, although I believe Velez starts as favorites. So Edu, Velez to win with odds of 2.05 sounds attractive. Then I will look to the first half over corners taken market. Over 5 corners in the first half shows odds of 2.2. Over 5 corners in the first half, odds of 2.2. And Velez to score first has odds of 1.73.
All right, I'm checking the stats that we can see in Oddspedia, for instance, and Talleres, only 20% of their games finish with over 2.5 goals. So I guess we shouldn't expect many goals from Talleres. You mentioned that they are both in a bad situation in the Argentinian league. Same for Estudiantes.
Yeah.
Actually, our last game is Athletico Paranaese, Estudiantes de La Plata, who were able already to kick out a Brazilian side in Fortaleza. They drew in Brazil. Then they finished the job at home, 3-0 in La Plata. Whereas for Athletico Paranaense, Leo, they suffer a lot to kick out Libertad. They had to score in the very last minute, a goal scored by Rómulo to avoid the extra time. This one is very open, no? I would say Athletico Paranaense Estudiantes.
But I believe it's going to be an open first leg, much more than the previous game we just talked, the other 3. But with Paranaense, I believe with the edge on this one. Estudiantes, yes, they have the know-how, they have the history, but I don't. And they made a good job against Fortaleza, especially in Brazil, taking a draw there. But believe me, watching them play in the Argentinian league is difficult to believe they can overturn the level they are showing lately. Paranaense last night, when I talk about Flamengo, they draw 0-0 in the Copa do Brasil against the Mengão in the first leg. They were lucky, it's true, to get through to the last 8, or at least not to go into penalties, because Romulo's equalizer came in the dying moments of the match in Asunción. They took more than they deserve on that night. Roque Santa Cruz scored a beauty for Libertad and had another chance to make it 2-0. In a way, a display that show the irregularity of Paranaense season so far. They are, anyway, in a good stand in the Brasileirão. They are 5th, 8 points behind the Palmeiras. But in the last 5 games, they won 2, they lost 2, and they drew the other one. There is, anyway, Edu, a growing feeling, at least for myself, that Athletico Paranaense is slow in building a know-how in the South American competitions, because they won the Copa Sudamericana last year, which is like the Europa League, and they are now in the last 8 of the Libertadores. And on top of that, they just signed Fernandinho, the ex-Manchester City central midfielder. On the other side, an Estudiantes team that had no problems, yes, to dispatch Fortaleza with real authority, with that 3-0 at home in the second leg, which was by far their best game in the Copa Libertadores. The downside for them is, as I was saying, it's hard to predict their form, because it's not very straightforward the way they are playing and performing the Argentinian league. Last weekend they were largely outperformed by Boca Juniors away from home. In their last 6 games, they only managed to take 3 points in the domestic league only once, and they are standing in the 21st position. So Edu, here I will go for a Paranaense win with odds of 2.23. An Asian handicap of minus 0.25 for Paranaense has odds of 1.86. So if Atletico wins, you win your bet, and if they draw, you lose half of your money. And finally, Paranaense to win 2-0 comes with higher odds of 3.25.
You don't believe in Estudiantes in their trip to Brazil. I was thinking that Fernandinho is quite old, but it turns out
37.
He's my age, so he's not that old at all. He was born in the 85. I was wrong about Fernandinho's age.
So you could see Leo, the Libertadores, Edu, basically, yes.
Maybe I can go and retire in Brazil. It would be a good plan for my life. Leo, let's go with your ACCA.
Yes.
Then to finish the video.
So, my ACCA this way. Corinthians Flamengo under 2.5 goals. Atletico Mineiro Palmeiras, the same. Goals under 2.5. Velez Talleres de Cordoba. Velez to score first. Atletico Paranaense Estudiantes, Asian handicap of minus 0.25 for Paranaense. This leaves me with the ACCA of 8.13.
All right, Leo, a pleasure. As always, let's enjoy Copa Libertadores. Thank you, guys. Don't forget, of course, to press the like and subscribe to our channel so we can keep doing the videos. See you, Leo.
See you next time.
Your Flamengo t-shirt. Good luck.
Bye-bye.